you immediately try to become that business? So like say if I want to start just out of the blue, I want to start a cookie shop. Are we doing it in 4 minutes?
No, like 40 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just shut up.
Cookie shop. We'll come in on cookie
Yeah,
shop.
coming on the cookie shop.
20 seconds.
No pun intended.
It's one of those things. Do you trust Microsoft, or do you trust Apple?
Trust no one.
Trust no one. Okay. We're seconds away. 3, 2, 1. Hey, good evening. Welcome to River West Radio's Extemper Radio here at riverwestradio.com. You can find us on Ustream.tv as well. My name is Brendan O'Day. I'm here tonight, as always, with my good friend Sam Caban. We're here, and we're talking about things on Extemper Radio. Just here to talk about things and find out what's interesting to you guys and what's interesting to us, and we'll talk about it. We'll come up with things to talk about. We'll talk about things.
If there's anything you want us to blab about, just please, send us a little message. Start following us. Anything.
And how do they follow you? Let's cover that right away.
I've got 2 websites. One's based on relationships and dating called Powlove, POWLOVE.com, and the other one's just after my name, samcaban.com. It's just my personal blog. I put up any people that I connect with, and most of the stuff that I do. So a lot of martial arts stuff. Obviously following these comedians and my Powlove and a lot of stuff. But yeah, check those websites out. They're fun and free.
And that's Sam Caban. That's SAMCABAN.com.
That's right.
And also on Powlove right now, there's an interesting set of videos up on Powlove.com. First dates gone bad or worst date experiences. And there's some pretty good, some pretty interesting little videos up there right now.
Do you see both? Did you get to see them yet?
I did see them. That's pretty good to watch.
Yeah, see, I'm really glad about it. And I really wanted to find, because it's brand new and I didn't really get much of a chance to, really, really strongly brand myself and just explode into the community or whatever you want to call it. This is my chance to, find really fun, interesting ways for, people to get advice on the site. It doesn't always have to come from my mouth. People have experiences of their own as well. And it's nice that it's like Milwaukee people and I can just, walk up, film them, and most people are pretty willing to vent.
I think that's pretty cool, and I think we could really get. I think you get a lot of really good responses. And I think maybe one of the cool things you might do with that is you could take their response and then you could maybe dissect the date a little bit afterwards, and kind of break it down and put together like maybe a 5-minute thing where they're talking for a minute and then you hit it for 30 seconds and where you can actually put some of your advice right out there and show some of the pitfalls. And I mean, sometimes they're kind of obvious in the one I did. I'm sure mine was kind of obvious. Like just maybe ask the girl if she's pregnant before you go out on the date with her.
Well, dude, I mean, but that's the funny thing about, and I'll tell you about, actually we'll jump into my date. I had a date today and it was not the hottest date. And of course everything's always way more clear in retrospect.
Sure.
And when you go on a date, and most people don't do this either. But a lot of people don't do this with anything that they do. A lot of people don't dissect why things go bad, and even less people dissect why things go good. Like I think I've heard one person in my life actually talk to me and be like, I've got all this and all this and all this great stuff happening, and she's like, but I really don't understand. I'm trying to understand what it is that I'm doing, so she can recreate the experience.
Sure.
Which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nobody ever does it, and people don't care to. They just a lot of people say, oh, I want to go with the flow. And that's the unfortunate part is that if you go with the flow, then it's just going to take you wherever it goes.
Yep.
Unless you at least pay a little bit of attention and change things about. But
and when it starts going off the rails, then you don't know why it's going off the rails. You don't know how it started going off the rails. It just is, and you don't know what you can do to bring it back because you never bothered to analyze it when it was going good.
Yeah,
it's absolutely if you don't do the self reflection, pretty much constantly, you are kind of living quite a bit by the seat of your pants.
Yeah, we can't do it too much though, and you get all wrapped up.
I think if you spend a half an hour a week, if you spent
that's more than enough.
Like a Friday morning or a Saturday morning, kind of retrospective on the week. Figure out what you did to get where you got at the end of the week, and how it happened and why it happened. That's a huge thing, and I would say that's probably less than 1% of the population that does that.
Yeah, probably.
And that's why I think a lot of people kind of get what they get and have gotten where they've gotten. So
Yeah.
she's going to get out of there without a ticket. God dang it.
What, you wanted to get?
Well, we got a
You're
person
horrible.
that's parking over there in the bus parking. And
Get
the
her
buses
plates.
it's just kind of funny, we tried to warn people, and then
Too late for me.
We got blown off. We got blown off. Like, I won't get a ticket. Like, oh, seriously? Okay, fine. If you think so, all right.
Oh
cool.
my gosh. So.
So how'd the date go today?
Okay, so it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good, and I'll explain that to you. Because I met this girl. I'm not gonna say names, and I don't want to be a jerk about it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I met her out. We were a friend of mine and I were out at a little club, and they were doing salsa dancing. And there's actually the guy that Danny Balderas on the first video, he teaches
teaches
salsa.
dance, yeah.
Salsa lessons. He's very good. He's a competitive dancer. Guy's excellent. I mean,
Yeah.
I like watching the guy. He's really great at teaching. Awesome. But yeah, so I met this girl there. And I remember thinking, okay, well, and it's one of those deals, and I don't know if guys understand this, but if you've ever, and maybe both sexes understand this, but where you've seen somebody across the room, and instead of feeling, because sometimes you'd look at somebody and kind of feel like nervous, and you don't know if you want to walk up to them or not. This was totally the opposite, where I looked at her and like you feel inspired. You're like, wow, she looks really great. I have to say something.
Sure.
I have to say something. So I went and talked to her, and we chatted a bit, and she's got a pretty tight schedule, so it was really hard to figure something out. And we chatted back and forth a few times over the phone or whatever, and we finally set something up where she had mentioned, she's like, well, that actually it was pretty cool, that Cleopatra exhibit is going on, I think, a few more weeks or whatever at
the public museum.
At the public museum,
Yeah.
and which is really cool to check out. I mean, to think that somebody who was like 17 years old, ruling a nation, that's like putting the Olsen twins in office, or like, you know what I mean? It was like really crazy. So I was like, and it was a cool exhibit. I mean, like, it was grandiose. Like, they start off with something that seems kind of lame. They just sit you in a room, and they make you watch like a video. It's like on a projection screen.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, and as the video goes on, it gets a little more dramatic and dramatic and dramatic. And right at the end, you hear like a doom, and the lights go down. The projector screen comes up, and behind the projector screen is the entrance.
Okay.
And the first thing you see is this awesome lit up statue of Cleopatra. It's really, really cool. So that was a really good time.
I like to think that maybe she had better advisors than Bob Saget in her youth, so maybe she was a little more prepared.
Yeah, probably.
For ruling a nation.
That's a good point
back
too.
in the day, that maybe Bob Saget wasn't her mentor, and
That's a really good point too. Yeah, like you think, who are the people that? Because I don't know. I really wonder how good like leadership is, and concerning the people that we follow today and pay attention
Sure.
to today or whatever. So anyway, I'm getting off topic. So I went on this date. The event was really cool, but the entire time, it didn't feel. It felt like and by the way, here's. I know there's gonna be a lot of guys and women that are gonna kill me for saying this, but I really would, if I were, unless you're on a first date. If you're on a first date and I made a mistake today, I'd probably go out of your way to not pay for stuff. Not because I remember actually when Danny said on the video, he's like, if somebody's worth taking out, then you should pay for it and treat her nice if a woman's worth your time. The problem is the reason that people do that, the reason that that works, or that it's worth your time to pay for somebody or to give things or gifts or whatever to somebody, is because you're already valuable in their eyes. So imagine getting, I don't know, who's like really hot. Who do you think's really hot, like in the movies or shows or anything? You gotta have somebody hot in your head. Do not do this to me.
I wasn't prepared to come
Back
up
in the
with
day,
somebody
yes.
hot. You could take I I don't know who's hot. Rachel Bilson. That's just
don't
the
even know who
first
that is.
name. All right, there
Whatever.
you go. Okay, some female actress.
Well, whatever.
Between
Rachel
24
Bilson,
and 50 years old.
Okay, well, Rachel Bilson gives you like a cool gift, something you like, a magazine or some flowers, or whatever, something,
Sure.
right? And it's cool because she's already valuable, she's already hot, she's a good-looking chick. Now, let's say you get somebody that you know who you're not attracted to, who's really annoying, gets on your nerves or whatever, and comes and gives you the exact same gift. And like all of a sudden, it's not really as valuable because you hold no value within that person.
Sure,
So like
exactly.
for that coming from that person, you just kind of feel weird about it. So so not to say that I was creeping her out, but in all fairness, we didn't really know each other.
Sure.
Except for meeting her,
Yep.
having a few really brief conversations on the phone and maybe a couple texts back and forth. We knew nothing about each other. We had no feel for each other's personalities, so that that makes it tough. So so me paying for her, it's kind of like she might actually feel as if I'm trying to compensate by just giving her stuff. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It doesn't really seem to help. And then what else did I want to say? I guess on top of that. I guess on top of that, it would have been nicer, even though the Cleopatra exhibit was super sweet. I mean, that thing was like, I was not
Yeah,
close
you're
enough.
beyond Michael.
Okay, here we go. Even though the exhibit was really, really awesome, I think it hurt that the fact that there was a lot of stuff to look at besides us looking at each other. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was. I mean, we hung out there for a few hours. Like we're just looking at all the exhibits up and down. We went through the whole. We didn't just like go to the exhibit and leave. We went to the Cleopatra exhibit, and then we checked out all the old stuff, the dinosaurs, old Milwaukee, all that fun stuff.
Sure.
It was a really great time, but the whole time it felt like a very. It didn't feel like we were on a date. It didn't feel like we were even sparking a friendship. It felt like we were just being nice.
Just in the same place at the same time with a decent person.
Yep.
Wow.
Very plain,
Okay.
and it sucks because of that. And she's a beautiful, smart woman, but I couldn't, and for the life of me, get any spark out of her. You know what I mean? Like we joked around a little bit and stuff like
Sure.
that, but it didn't feel like a date. So it felt very plain, very just like there was no common ground. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and if there's no connection, if it doesn't feel like there's any connection, that's one thing, and can be kind of valuable to find out. And you're at this point invested in it to the point of a trip to the museum,
right.
which you certainly got something out of. You spent 3 hours there and had a good time,
Right.
and certainly got to see an exhibit that a lot of people will never see because
Right.
it's only here for a short period of time. So there's an upside to it, but yeah, it's time spent. And if it didn't seem to go anywhere, it didn't go anywhere. So,
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Chalk that one up. So break that down, dissect it. How did that seem to come out?
That the dating or the pay? Okay, I'm still kind of confused by the question.
Well, is it? I don't want to come off sounding like Chuck Woolery, but obviously it doesn't sound like there was anything to come back and reconnect with. There shouldn't be a second date.
No, probably not.
So,
Probably
yeah.
not. We might see each other again, and it might be very cordial, more of a what's the word? What's the A word? Associates,
Acquaintances. Yeah.
It'll be more acquaintances than we will be
Sure.
friends. You know what I mean? But it totally took this bizarre turn because I had parked. I mean, and if anybody knows downtown Milwaukee, that's like it's an area of Milwaukee that just rains parking tickets, and I went over there and I parked my car. I just jammed like $2 into the meter for like a half hour or something, whatever they give you, and so I put a bunch of change in the meter. We kind of calculated in our heads how much time we had.
Mm-hmm.
Went through the exhibit, looked around, and we're like, okay, we should leave. We'll get some change in the meter. So we left, and she gets out to her car, and she's still fine. But when I got out to my car, the meter maid he just got there. So he was just like, he must have just got my car because he was literally on the other side of the street getting other people's cars.
Okay.
And I look at the ticket, and I'm like, crap, So I'm thinking, well, I already got the ticket. Just whatever, just leave it. I'll come back and take my ticket and pay for it, whatever. So we go back, finish up the rest, come back, We walk up. I was gonna walk her to her car, and we walk across the street, and I turn around real quick, and it's gone. Car is gone. She's like, "Are you sure you parked there?" I'm like, "I'm sure I'm parked here."
Holy cow.
The car's gone. All right.
Wow.
So we as quick as we can, we walk across the street. There's a dude towing cars. So who else would you ask? So
Right.
I asked this dude. He's like, "Well, here's a number. Call him up." Or no, he didn't even give me the number. He's like, "I don't know." So I had to Google it on my BlackBerry, which is dying, and and then I called them. They're like, "Oh well." Oh yeah, and then it was like 5:05, right? Their call hours ended at 5 o'clock, so I couldn't even call and make sure that my car was there.
Where your car was.
So
Jesus.
I had to, but I had to ask the guys like, "Listen, this is where most of them go, so you're better off just going there first, because they were gonna close at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And we're like a few minutes away from that point. So I was like, okay, look, just take me here, and I'll talk to him real quick or whatever. So fortunately, I got there. The car was there. It was like 125 to get it out.
Wow.
The ticket. And it wasn't because of the meter. Apparently, I was in a park. Like, you know how there's those parking spots that you can park in, but only at certain times.
Right.
So I slipped into that time gap where I couldn't be parked there. I got a $60 ticket, and I was like, oh man. So I was like, dude, they got me good. And
Wow.
so she takes me, but she was really cool about it. She took me to the lot. I got my car back. And she's kind of like, wow, that must really suck. And for a second, I was really going to get wrapped up. And I was going to be like, yeah, this does suck. This is stupid. $125,
Yeah.
screwing up my day, right? And then I caught myself, which was cool because you put a lot of work into that to be able to do that. And I was like, you know what? I had a decent morning. I went to see Cleopatra. I got to hang out with this beautiful young woman. Even if it didn't go that well, she was still nice. It was still cool.
Sure.
And she took me there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or and I could have flipped out. I could have just flipped out and been like, I don't know, whatever. Just made the day even worse.
Well, did you feel like not flipping out was still a natural reaction?
At this point,
or
yeah.
was it a pretty? Do you feel like it was a calculated reaction, like you were thinking about stuff a lot? Do you think that's something that you want to show, that you're deeply ticked by something, or not? I mean, I'm kind of curious.
You don't want to show that stuff. You don't want to. It's. I think one of the toughest things to do in the world, and I still work on it, is to. I know I wrote this down a bit, but it's just to take control of how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so many things that could go wrong. So many dumb things, and so many really, really serious things that could go wrong. And I just didn't want it to how much would it suck right now if I was just geeking out and super upset. I'm not upset, but if I was super upset right now and for the rest of the night and then tomorrow thinking, oh geez.
Well, sure, there's a point of letting it go, but I have my own particular annoyance with the city, and there as this strangely dovetails into the fact that tomorrow morning at 8:15 I have my first hearing with the parking authority on some tickets that I got. And I got them parking legally. In fact, that I wasn't parking, I was stopped. I was in delivery mode and was dropping stuff off at various businesses.
Right.
And there's a defined difference between stopping, standing, and parking.
Right.
And standing means you're still in your vehicle. You're just waiting for someone. You're waiting to pick somebody up.
Right.
Stopping means you've stopped. You're going to be there for less than 20 minutes. Your hazards are on. You're in what is oftentimes a parking zone, but may or may not be at that moment, or a labeled loading zone or something along that line. And vehicles that use that are common vehicles we see every day, postal vehicles and beer trucks and UPS
Sure.
and FedEx. And the difference is they've got a big label on
Yeah.
the side of their vehicle.
Yeah.
And I don't have a big label on the side of my vehicle. I have a label in my window that hangs there that says I'm a delivery vehicle. But I've got flashers on, and that means I'm covered. I could be a guy in a Toyota Yaris, or I could be a guy in a Chevy Escalade or Cadillac Escalade. If I'm in any of those vehicles, if I'm in any vehicle, a licensed vehicle, and my hazards are on, I now have 20 minutes to sit right there. Now, all these circumstances, I'm there for less than 9 minutes. And on one particular day, in one of these tickets that I'm fighting tomorrow, I actually received, I was the only person who received a ticket out of 5 vehicles on the street. And I was the only one legally parked or legally stopped. I was the only one with my hazards on. The postal truck up the street, he didn't have his hazards on. No, but he's a postal truck. He's all labeled up. So like, oh, he must be delivering.
Right.
He forgot to put his hazards on. And then there's the UPS truck that had pulled in and pulled out. He didn't get one in the time he was there. But there's 2 cars, 2 civilian vehicles that were parked in a loading zone, were there before I got there. Didn't check it at the time, but I ran into a building and was back out less than 8 minutes later, and I put my hand on the hood of both vehicles. Because when I saw I got a ticket and they didn't get tickets, put my hand on both vehicles' hoods, and they were cold. Like they'd been there for hours, and they're in a 20-minute loading zone. I'm like, well, so what? Are they the business owners that are out here, and the parking guy recognizes the car so he doesn't ticket them for whatever reason because they're powerful enough, or their particular restaurant is hooked up with the people from City Hall, and they eat there often enough that the City Hall people would be hearing about it from the restaurant owners all day long if they were getting too many tickets or whatever the scenario is. But for whatever reason, those 2 cars illegally parked, no tickets. Postal truck illegally parked, blocking a driveway, no ticket. UPS truck parked in the street, no ticket. I'm the only one. I'm parked in a no parking zone, but I'm not parked. I'm stopped, hazards on, sign in the window. So I'm going to fight these because there's no reason to pay them. If I legitimately get a ticket, I'm going to pay it. Last Saturday, I was at the library, and I didn't even think to look at the sign. I just went, it's Saturday. I parked and I ran in. Literally was in there for, again, like 12 minutes. And I'm standing looking at the new nonfiction. And I had this moment where I went,
Do you feel it?
like, I didn't even check the meter. And I went, damn. So I literally looped out. It's the new nonfiction's right on the outside of the wall where the entrance to the library is. So I walked out and I was parked right out front. And I walked out and the ticket was already on the car. Wow. So they got me in 12 minutes. But that's totally my fault. I totally get it. I won't challenge that ticket at all. I totally just forgot to check the meter. I forgot to check the sign. It is completely my fault. I am totally willing to pay that ticket. But when I do everything right and the lazy meter person chooses to ignore the sign, ignore the hazards, and just say, there's a no parking sign there. There's no parking signs everywhere. Do you think the UPS guy parks 4 blocks away and walks packages in? No, he parks right next to parked vehicles.
Dude will get canned for that.
Exactly, he will. He doesn't have time for that crap. And beyond that, we understand that he's not staying. He's there to deliver. He's doing something important. He's getting the means of that will keep that business running. We have a whole interplay of marketplace and capitalism and bureaucracy that all has to work together to keep the engine of the economy running. And if you start screwing with the ability for people to play their part within the engine of the economy, the engine breaks down. And so I'm going to spend, 45 minutes to an hour tomorrow arguing. I'm pretty sure I won't get the outcome that I want at that hearing. So then it'll get kicked up to a trial, and I'll show up for that pre-trial hearing, and I'll demand a jury trial, and then it'll kick up to a jury trial. Oh, absolutely. Because here's why. Here's why. Tomorrow morning's hearing, that's 45 minutes that parking attendant is off the street. They got to show up and verify the tickets. So that guy will not be in his little truck writing tickets tomorrow morning. He'll be sitting in that room, and I will talk for a solid 45 minutes and make sure he spends a full hour in there and does not get back out the door. Then when I ask for the trial, I'll tie up an assistant district attorney for a couple of hours, and I'll tie up a judge or a court commissioner. I'll tie up a court reporter, a security, whatever, the bailiff, and then I'm going to make 6 people from this good city sit there on a jury panel. I'm going to make them go through 8. I'm going to reject all 12 jurors that I can reject, so they're going to have to bring in at least 18 people, and all I'm doing this for is to show them the ridiculousness of a $40 parking ticket for legitimately participating in what they want me to do. They want me to make money and then spend money in their county.
Right.
And so they're putting up these barriers to any of that stuff happening. I have to fight it to show them the ludicrousness of what it is they're doing. But clearly there's only one reason they do it, because they make more money on it than it costs them.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason they're doing it. That's their way of making money. Well, guys, if I play by all your rules and you're still going to write tickets on me, looks like we're gonna have to argue this out. And if I can make it so this no longer makes any sense for you, if everybody fought every parking ticket or speeding ticket they had, it would stop tomorrow because the court system couldn't handle it.
So
Fight your tickets, people, and end all this crap and end this whole edge of the bureaucracy.
You remember? I remember. I was living out in River West, and where was I driving? I was driving up Locust, across the bridge, to somewhere in like Oakland, Locust, somewhere around there. But I remember driving and like it was the morning, and like it's so funny because it seems like unbelievable. Like you don't really notice like the meter maids cruising around. Like you'll see them, but maybe one at a time, so you don't think much of it. Yeah. And you kind of think, well, you can park somewhere for a few minutes and be cool. And I remember driving out. It was in the morning, and it was like right before. I want to say it was like 7, 8 o'clock before most people are, or while most people are getting ready to roll out.
Yeah, you're not even hit the streets yet.
Yeah, and I remember looking down like 4 or 5 streets, and there was a parking enforcement vehicle in every one of those streets, so they can nail them quick.
Wow, just waiting for the things to start.
Yeah, they wait for it, man. It's just systematized. Wow. It's really bizarre, the way they take. But there's a lot of money in it. I used to work this job, and it was one of those like money delivery like joints where you got the armored vehicle and all that jazz. And when I first started, I got like the crappy job, and the crappy job was basically there were these big coin counting machines. And the city of Milwaukee would collect. They hired these guys to collect all the change from all the meters and dump them in these big canisters. They'd bring them to us. I'd take the canisters, dump them in the coin machines, and we'd separate them and count them out and all that stuff.
Sure.
So I remember when I first started going through it, the first week, it was like I'd say an average of 20 grand. That was brought in every day, parking change alone.
Sure, that's just the change. That's not just permits.
No tickets, no permits, nothing, nothing. Just change.
Sure.
So they squeeze a lot of money out of people. It doesn't seem like much when it's just you and you lose like $20 or whatever. But if you add it up and think about it, I couldn't imagine the astronomical numbers that gets taken out of people's hands from that type of stuff.
That's $7.5 million. $7.2 million.
Change
in coinage, just in coinage. That's no tickets, people. There you go.
Yep.
And that's the way these things run. And now they've got those. Now they've got the kiosk things that you pay at. And
those deals.
Yeah, those are interesting. That I've seen people plugging the meter or waiting for the thing to read their card, or even just get its brains unscrambled and bring up the meter that you're trying to plug into, and I've seen the parking meter, the parking enforcement truck pull up, and people have to go running up the street to say, "Hey, I'm at the thing right now." Like there isn't even the cognizance on the part of the so that makes you start to think that the person in the truck, their whole thing is writing the ticket, and that's their primary objective. It's not to see if, there's 3 people standing there. I've got 4 people. Right. I got 4 cars parked. One is under the time frame here. The next 3 aren't. Hey, I'll do the math. There's 3 people there. There's 3 cars. Hey, there's probably 3 people that just pulled in No, they just start writing tickets on each person. Yeah, and it's ridiculous.
They don't care. It's
Right. Well, it just means that clearly their job is not to enforce a parking code. Their job is to get revenue.
Right.
Irrespective of how it impacts the people who are parking there. And all that does, and city after city across the country has shown this, is if you do that, people don't come to your downtown. If that's your attitude. So now you have people coming to these downtown areas and these parked in areas or these metered areas only when they have to, as opposed to making it a destination. Now it's an annoyance and a necessity only. It's the only time they head down there.
Right.
I can tell you, I haven't been to places down by the Pabst or by the the Riverside unless I absolutely have to. I don't go to the Grand Avenue Mall unless I absolutely have to, because I just am so annoyed. Well, I can get what I want somewhere else. Now, I might have wanted the experience of seeing the old downtown architecture, of seeing a diversity of people, but I can go get that somewhere else. So I choose not to go to the downtown. That's just what you do when you think that at any moment you could just get dinged on a parking circumstance without any, without your approval or without the rule, the sense of rules and things that you have to follow. There's a place right in front of the Miramar, actually. There's a circumstance where they run the parking later, just on Fridays. And it's specifically designed to catch somebody as they can't get out of a show in time to just ticket them. It's like a 1 hour. How can you have a 1 hour meter in front of a place that has 2 or 3 hour long shows? It's like, who's thinking about this except how can we get the most amount of money out of them?
Yeah.
And we're all suckers for that because this is supposed to be our government.
Right.
We're supposed to have input on this, and we don't have that opportunity.
But, it would have been. Oh, should I turn this again?
You're still in frame.
Still on me? Yeah, it would have been because by all technicalities, it would have been way easier. I mean, and I agree. That's the only reason that I even parked downtown was because we were going to that museum.
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't been there for years, and and when we talked, she was like, "Well, let's go here." I'm like, "Well, actually, that sounds cool. Why not? We'll do it." And I mean, with the kind of money that gets pulled in that we just talked about on the change loan and other things, it would have been easy to build some sort of a parking structure specifically for public parking, not privately owned, government owned.
Sure.
And say that each citizen that wants to use one of those parking structures should pay a certain. That'd be even easier. It'd be worth it for me if there were structures where a citizen of whatever city, state, or whatever could pay a certain amount monthly or yearly to have the permission, to have a sticker.
Park in numerous different places. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And that'd be totally fine and worth it and stuff.
Sure.
And that would actually seem like it's more of a service to the public
Sure.
than this, squeezing every dime and nickel you can get out of people. Because
Sure.
parking meters, it's just a fine. It's just a fining service,
Exactly. Well, it's 7:30 here on RiverWestRadio.com at River West Film and Video, 824 East Center Street in the Milwaukee's River West neighborhood. I'm Brendan O'Day. I'm with Sam Caban here today, and we are just having a nice little chat about parking, and we started off on dating and wound up on parking. We're hitting the big issues. We're going to talk about abortion next, just because that seems to be where we're headed.
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, it's an interesting thing that. We're tossing coffee cups around by all the expensive equament. That's awesome.
It's empty.
Yeah, that's
all right.
That's the thing that makes it. Suddenly, next week there'll be a sign up that says no beverages on the work table.
We totally violated that. What was it, last week?
Yeah, that was post the post 8 p.m.
beverages.
hour was the beerified hour. It's always good to have some beer on the radio.
Nice.
But yeah, that's the kind of thing that. I appreciate you not losing your stuff over it when you're sitting there with somebody who's helping you out, because that's the other side of it is you can really balance that sure, the bureaucracy is doing its thing that's kind of messing with you, but at the same time you're getting to experience this circumstance of a decent, cool person who's coming along for the ride and helping you out in this process. Do you think that played into any of your assessment that the date wasn't really all that great because because you had to kind of keep your emotions in check, or was it just a flat out a case of there wasn't a real good connection?
Just wasn't a real good connection. I don't think it had anything to do with that. I wasn't necessarily feeling like upset or angry or whatever, but the entire time it felt very, very super plain, just super plain. You know what I mean? And it's hard, I mean, it's one thing, and women have a tendency to do this too. They see, guys will think like logically, right? We think like, well, this is why I like her, and this is why I like her, and they think of it, and they'll like pay attention or whatever. And women have a tendency to make a choice really fast. So you might know somebody for 5 minutes, and they're already categorizing you like this guy's creepy, this guy's super hot, and I want to date him, I want to marry him, I want to have sex with him, I want to friend them, whatever, you know what I mean? And once you get put into a certain slot or category, it's kind of hard to get out, and backpedaling is almost not worth it, because then you're very try hard, and it makes you uncomfortable and it's not fun.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. But it had nothing to do with the parking thing or whatever. I was glad though that, you know, my like being upset about it was really brief. But that's the role that I have to play. You know, you understand? Like if I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna teach people to date and be better people and do the life coaching thing, I can't get really jacked up about every little thing that somebody throws my way. It's just not going to work out. You know,
well, yeah, if you're that type of person, you're going to have a hard time in life anyway.
Right.
Yeah, there's merit to the whole idea of don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of things that people let get way bigger than they should. There's things that become much larger issues that it just doesn't make any sense to let them become as big as they do.
Yeah.
But you know, that ends up, I think a lot of times being one of the defining differences between people is, you know, how quick does somebody lose their crap, go crazy.
Yeah.
So I like having real issues do that to me, and to be able to show some passion about something. But things like parking, I try not to let them, you know, get me so wrapped up. So
that's so hard to do, man. I'll tell you what. I remember it wasn't until maybe a couple years ago that somebody, and I've been reading so many dumb like self-improvement, self-actualization books and stuff on dating and relate and all that stuff. It's fun. It's fun to read it all and you learn a lot of stuff, but nothing ever really says get yourself in check. Like 100% get yourself in check.
Mm-hmm.
Like check your emotions, check how you feel, you know, look at yourself when you get really upset, you know, and
Sure.
and when you get really happy, you know, all that stuff, you know, like how do you feel on a regular basis and why does it happen? And nobody ever said that. And I remember I had my first conversation with a Tony Robbins associate, and this guy's named Steve Becker, and he's a really cool guy. We talked for an hour. I mean, like this guy, he's one of the few people that I've ever had like blow me away over a phone conversation. He was a really cool guy.
Sure.
And he's like, one of the things you really need to learn how to get in check is your emotions, dude. You don't get that in check, forget about it. You really, really have to stay on top of it. And since then, you know, I've still had like my meltdowns and breakdowns over certain things and getting, you know, really upset or sad over certain situations, or sometimes even like remembering something. You know, do you ever sit down and you just something, maybe not even like, maybe you didn't consciously remember it, but something kind of like gave you the feeling or reminded you of something, or felt like a similar situation and you felt that similar emotion coming up because of it, you know, stuff like that. I never really knew to even give the time of day, you know, and here I am getting freaked out or upset about who knows what. But all I knew was that when it happened, you know, I'd be out of control and be super mad about it. And it's been hands down, there's no advice for that except for really pay attention to it, you know.
Sure.
and find ways, because that's what life coaching, and I wrote this down too. I was like, life coaching is the idea that you have to be the strong emotional center. Like you really have to control the emotional content of your life. You know, it's like, you know, not only being positive, but understanding how to channel that positive energy. And when something crappy happens to you, or when there are people around you that are not necessarily best people for you, you know, taking those circumstances and then you redefine them so that they serve you and they become this positive resource for you. Sure. As opposed to you getting more and more upset and you know, because like I said before, everybody, there's always a reason. There's always a reason to get mad. Always a reason to get mad. Sure. You know, you stub your toe, you get mad. You know, I get a ticket, I get mad. Somebody calls you ugly, you get mad or whatever. You know, you know, you ever have a day where like things seem to be going really smoothly, and somebody says some really mean stuff to you or whatever. Somebody says some really nasty stuff to you, and you just like, it's in your head all day, and you don't even consider the fact that like 95% of your day was really awesome. You know, maybe 99% of your day, and then just one jerk just went and, you know, puked on you for whatever reason. Maybe they're mad, and you let it screw up. You know, so you gotta crack the whip on your life. You gotta really just pay attention to it and control it and do it. And it's not going to happen right away. Even with me, I'm trying to do this as a business, and I'm still trying to trying to get tighter and tighter on like how I feel on a regular basis. It's tough work, man.
If you ever want to talk to Sam about this personally one-on-one, you can contact him through powlove.com, POWLOVE.com, and talk more about personal life issues and how talking that out with somebody who spent time studying like he has, you can figure some things out. So contact him through there on those issues, and follow him at the Samka blog on is that WordPress? Is that a WordPress blog?
Oh, you can just
find that right through samkaban.com.
Yeah, you can just go Sam. Yeah, it used to be. It was a blogger, and then I got I bought the domain name a while back, but I was real lazy about it because I was so concentrated on everything else.
Sure.
I just kept forgetting to link the two sites together. But it's all fine now. You can just go samkaban.com or whatever. But you know, even if you're thinking, you know, I don't have the money or I don't want to, because dude, I mean, a coach is. You look at and I was doing some basic market research. A coach, any regular coach throughout the city, like they'll charge you like $125 for an hour. Like you charge $125 to get an hour of advice and stuff like that. So unless you're going to be really serious about it, and this is something that you want to do for a little while, just stick to looking at the website. I mean, the email's available. I love answering questions. I love it when people hit me up and say, I wish you would write about this, or I wish you would talk about that. And I'm always willing to talk about it. I mean, I'm currently writing a couple of ebooks, and those are going to go up. I'm not going to say any date because I don't really know when, but those are going to go up for free. Like I don't want you to come to me and ask for my service without 100% understanding where I come from, what I do, how helpful I am, and all that stuff. So yeah, stick around. Always watch the site. If you ever want to be on one of the bad date videos, or if you have some ideas or suggestions, shoot them my way. I have a great time doing this stuff. It's one of those things that I've been screwing around with this stuff for I think about 7 years now, 6-7 years now. The coaching and the self-improvement and all that stuff. And even though theoretically I should have thrown it away and just gotten a regular job, I can't put it down. Mm-hmm. It's disgusting. I try to let it go. I try to pretend that, maybe I could just do something else better, but I know if the minute I put it down, there's going to be a void. Sure. And that this is really what I want to do and put a lot of my kind of love and effort into. But yeah.
Definitely contact Sam if you have had a bad first date and you want to put that on the video. Those are kind of fun. It's always fun to get those out. So, but we're here at River West Film and Video, 824 East Center Street in River West. And there's still open slots available on the radio schedule, especially for Fridays if there's something you'd like to talk to the fine folks of the River West area and the larger internet community. If you have a message you want to get out, stop in, see the folks here at River West, and get yourself a time slot that works to get your message out. So we've got tomorrow evening, Tuesday the 10th, I'm going to be in Madison, Wisconsin on the internet from 7 to 9 p.m., on reddragontv.com. I'm sorry, reddragon.tv. It's the Tommy Franklin show. The show's been running about 8 years, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm actually sitting in on panel on the whole night. I'll be on the air for 2 straight hours, and just talking with Tommy, and we'll be talking about the bands, the various performers that will be on the show. And so I'm going to hang out for a couple hours with them over in Madison. It's going to be a good night. So check that out if you get a chance. That'll be cool. So,
do you mind if I kind of semi-plug something?
No, please
I
go ahead.
I had something
Absolutely.
else. I really wanted to. I have a really strong feeling that the majority of my just everything that I get. I used to do the flyer and business card. I don't even get that. And people were like, "Well, do you have a business card?" And I was just no. I don't have it anymore. I don't care. Just go to the website. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm on Facebook and I'm all that. And I've been really trying to build up the Facebook community because I've got about like 56 people, on the fan page. Mm-hmm. But I want to grow it to about 2,000.
Sure.
And I told people, I sent out some emails too. You should have it too if you saw it.
Yep.
So if we hit 2,000 people, I'm gonna put up a free dating seminar, on self-actualization and how to improve your dating life by simply improving yourself. Without having to figure out, what's the smart line to say or whatever, just like finding ways to make yourself happier, and
Sure.
kind of improve yourself and just by default, your dating life will improve. So I
That's
definitely
a crazy idea. Be a better person, get better dates.
yeah, well, that's what it is, though. And I can't tell you how many books that are out there that are very on the manipulative angle, that are like, and I'll tell you what, I feel like I feel guilty, but some of it really does work, where you can, if you pay attention to certain aspects, and how people, and it's almost like sales. It's like, sometimes people don't value things if they're free.
Correct.
And which goes right back to my date. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder how much more she would have valued me. I don't even wonder. I know that she would have valued me more had I just been like, listen, I mean, you seem really great, but I hardly know you. How about we just split it? And if anything, we're just friends, and if it gets, you know what I mean? Like that, and even just saying that sometimes will trigger people, because some people are really hell bent on, this grosses me out, on, if a guy's not a challenge, then he's not worth it type of deal, which is what's really gross, because then you fall into that game thing where you got to pretend to play it cool and stuff like that. And I don't like doing that. Like, I really want to be, that's the type of person I am. I'm very upfront. I'm honest about, stuff. I'm physical, not like I'm grabbing, can I say that? Can I say that?
Sure.
No, I'm not grabbing ass, but I'm certainly, let me hold your hand, come close, that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Because I want it to be obvious. If I put all my cards on the table and after that nothing goes well, then it's time, like, definitely not wasted. Like, I put everything out there, and I don't have to worry about it. I have to come back to it.
You felt like there was a real shot, and
exactly.
Everybody gave what they could give, and
right.
there wasn't a connection, and we just move on.
Right.
And that happened.
And that's the way it should be. It shouldn't have to be this deal where you're constantly trying to, fool somebody into liking you. Actually, he's one of my favorite stories, and I might even just reuse this when I do the seminar. But did I tell you about this? I did tell you about this. The what's the orange trucks, the delivery, Schneider.
Schneider National. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did talk about this. I'm not even talking about it again. Go check out the last show. Actually, you know what? Let's do it, because...
No, go ahead and tell the story, yeah.
Yeah, because that last one was really choppy. Did you see that, by the way?
No.
Because I went online, and it wasn't... because of that wiring issue, it wasn't like one show. It was split up into like 100 mini videos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's getting better, thankfully, so this will be better. So, yeah, go ahead and tell the story about the Schneider National guy and woman.
Yeah, so this guy... my aunt was telling me about this young lady friend of hers, and we were chatting about this a while back, and she's like, well, my friend met this guy, and apparently he is the owner, he's like the president and owner or whatever, CEO of Schneider National. They're chatting or whatever, they get in a conversation, and he pulls out his ID and his last name Schneider or whatever, and she's jacked. She is like, oh my God, I'm gonna go on this date with this guy, and he's loaded, and he's a good looking guy, and he seems nice, you know what I mean? So she's like, excited because she's getting this sort of immediate package. Well, then she goes off and she starts talking to my aunt, saying, well, can you teach me how to eat properly and be a little more, because he was gonna take her to a nice restaurant, so she wanted to know where like the salad fork was and the soup spoon or whatever it was. So she teaches her all this stuff and gets her prepped for this date, right? And they go on the date, and the date goes all right until he tells her that he lied, and he's not the owner of Schneider National. He's just a regular dude. And I every time I tell the story, I ask people, because I'm always curious to hear the answer, is who do you think is the jerk of the story? And they'll give me one or the other for the most part. I rarely ever get the right answer, and the right answer is they're both the jerks.
Really both, yeah.
Yeah, they're both, because they're both lying to each other, making stuff up, and they're just both doing jerk crap, which is like pretending that you're somebody that you're really not, and that's the toughest thing to do in the entire world too. Being really genuine and authentic and stuff. I can't tell, even now. I mean, I do still feel it sometimes where you just kind of like want to go the other way, and you got to check yourself. Maybe as a comedian, probably not. I wouldn't think so.
It's kind of shocking how I do really have that element of, I try to be very upfront with where I'm at in my life, what my expectations of myself are in my life, where I'm headed, and that's been met with really great reaction from people.
Right.
Where it's just like, wow, no pretense, you're not faking stuff. So no, it doesn't mean I don't know people in my universe that don't, they overblow every credit they have. They try to make themselves sound like they're way further ahead in a career than they are. And that's just kind of funny to see that occur. But it also falls under that category of, well, we were taught for so long the fake it till you make it type attitude,
dude. Oh,
that putting on airs and keeping up or keeping ahead of people, and I found that's just it's very tiring to do. But B, what does that get you? At some point, the house of cards comes tumbling down. You're revealed for who you are anyway. Right. So did you want to get into something, under false pretenses, or did you want to know exactly what you were doing and where you were at? So I try to live my life fairly simply and fairly directly.
Dude, that's good. No, that's really good. That was some stuff that I had trouble with before. I remember I didn't even realize it too. I remember at some point when I was going out all the time, when and this was me being this was back in the day when I was trying to be manipulative, but I would chat a girl up, right, get her excited, and I would shut up to see if she would try to, because that was like for me that felt like a real test, does she like me or not. Mm-hmm. So I would shut up to see if she would reinitiate conversation. You know what I mean? Like I would put the awkward silence in there purposely to see if she would just try to start making some crap up to relate to me or whatever. Yeah. And a lot of times I got, something about sports, baseball, basketball, football, whatever. And I didn't care. I really don't give a crap. I mean, it's cool that we have the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brewers on. I love them. They're great. Just because I'm hometown, but I don't go out of my way to watch the games. I don't know the players. Nothing like that. So somebody starts bringing up a Bucks game, and I was like, listen, I don't watch that stuff. I'm sorry. And she's like, oh, good, because I just want to talk some more. I was like, okay, cool,
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. She's willing to at least own up to it right away and say, I was just trying to gauge your interest level. It's unfortunate that someone feels like they should bring that up in order to try to further a conversation, but at least she dealt with it honestly. So that's cool. Right. Yeah, that's all right.
But, it's hard. It's hard to be really genuine. It's hard to be, I like you, you're beautiful, you look great or whatever, because, women do get, especially hot chicks, they get bored with it. They get bored. They get so, and not only they get bored with it, but they become upset by it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like being a movie star. You know what I mean? Or it's like being in an important position, and everybody's trying to kiss up to you to get to something else. So when you're this hot chick and you got guys going, oh, you're so hot, blah blah blah, I would totally A, B, C, and D you, right? Mm-hmm. and they're like, dude, another dude just trying to get in my pants or whatever that I don't care about, that obviously doesn't care about me except for how I look or whatever. So, they look at these people as disingenuous. So when you are in this position where you can look at somebody that's like super gorgeous and still genuinely not care, like they feel it, but it sucks that you have to do that.
Sure.
Right? It sucks that you can't just tell them, well, you are beautiful. Why are you upset about it? You know what I mean? Don't try not to freak out so much about it or whatever. I'm not trying to get anything out of you.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, is that statement quantified against their typical circumstance.
Right.
That it's almost like you have to earn that level of trust to be able to say that to them and have them take it as a compliment as opposed to as a come on.
That's right.
So that's all has to be predicated with a lot of very real and natural interaction where you reveal who you are and they then make a decision and you're making a decision if you're compatible, if you can spend time together, if you see things similarly or so I think that has to happen. It's one of those weird things, I think, especially if you're specifically talking about girls in that universe of hot chick, quote unquote.
Well, sure. Well, based on who you think is attractive.
Well, what I mean is they've heard it all the time.
Right.
So you don't need to tell them. They've heard it and heard it and heard it. When it'll come on, when it'll be a sincere compliment is when they've come to trust you. as they understand who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Then you get some grace to be able to give a legitimate compliment and have it taken as a compliment,
Right.
as opposed to just another ruse and attempt to get
Which
into
goes
it. So.
all the way back to what I was talking about having value.
Yep,
Which is why me paying for that museum entrance doesn't do anything.
Drives that value down, right?
Yeah, which sucks because you're really trying to do it. You're trying to be like, for my point of view, I'm trying to be genuine about it. I could care less if can I say get laid? Can I talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah, I care less if I can get laid or not. I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? But I definitely want to have a good time with her and spend time with her and get to know her or whatever. But because I think because of that dynamic, or partially because of that dynamic, the majority of the date felt very, just kind of blah,
Well, yeah, and I think you can take a disposition of I'll cover the I don't know. I like coffee as an icebreaker, only because if there's something there after the coffee, then I'll be like, hey, do you want to go to this museum thing? I'll do the museum. You get the next one.
Right.
And then you kind of put it on her to come up with, a date idea, which historically, there is that cultural imperative or that cultural norm that says the guy pays.
Right.
And so if you're trying to break that to begin with, the next norm you're breaking is the guy comes up with all the plans and does all the planning.
Right.
So if you can open that up right off the bat and say, hey, look, I've got this idea for this museum thing. Do you want to do that on Thursday? That's on me. You come up with one for Saturday.
Right.
Because we're having a good time here over coffee. Clearly, we're going to see each other more than one more time.
Right.
But if the coffee's going terrible, then it can just be, hey, it was really great to get to know you. Next time I'm doing something with a group of people, shoot me your Facebook, friend me on Facebook, and I do some group stuff. We'd love to have you come hang out. You're a nice person. We're not having a connection, but you're a nice person. It doesn't. That's the weird thing, is that we've gotten to be such a Facebook-oriented type society where people think they just have friends on Facebook. I think the more circumstances you can create where people go out and do stuff together as a group really can create real friendship, which I think is what's one of the big things that's lacking in our world today.
That's why I deleted most of the people on my Facebook. I'll probably go back and delete more. You know what I mean? Because you got a lot of people that I've had people, here's the last example was this chick named Brittany. She I knew her sort of kind of, and we worked together for a while. But we never hung out. I never talked to her or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And she tries to friend request me, and I go like, listen, dude, if we haven't hung out, we're not gonna be Facebook friends. I mean, if you want to hang out, send me a number or whatever, and let me know when something's going on, and I'll come out or whatever. That's fine. You got
to take a social networking marketing seminar. You shouldn't unfriend her, only because.
Well, I didn't. We weren't even.
Oh,
friends.
you weren't friends.
That's the thing.
Okay.
We weren't friends in the first place.
Okay,
she was just trying to. There's seminars for social marketing.
Yeah. Oh,
Have you taken one?
No, but I've had I've been in businesses where marketing teams offer that, and I've done phone conferences for it, but I've never gone to a quote unquote seminar.
That's cool.
But they're certainly available for how to maximize your utility with things like Facebook and Twitter and things like that, and
that'd be worth
social media marketing.
So
that's always out there. But you take a guy like a Tony Robbins, he can't possibly know the 112,000 people on his fan page.
No. Well, see, that's the difference. I have a page. Yeah, I have a page for Power Love.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about that's
what's your
fine.
Personal thing, yeah.
But that's my personal thing, And she's trying to hang. I mean, she's trying to hang with me. I don't know her. I mean, I have nothing against her, but to be honest, it's like, I don't even talk to all the people on my Facebook right now on a regular basis, and I'm always so stretched out for time.
Well, that's why you got to get Google Plus, because then you can have your little circles of friends.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the gig with that? Because I just started messing with it, and it seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem like Google Plus is going to take off. Like it's going to get the traction that it needs to. Something bad will have to happen at Facebook to get people to really bolt en masse, because for whatever reason there's a social acceptance with Facebook that objectively, I think if you put Facebook and MySpace side by side, MySpace was a far better platform, certainly for someone in my universe, where I could put video clips and audio clips right up on the front page and everything, have it right there. And I just thought MySpace functioned much better. But there's this social imperative to be on Facebook, and even though it doesn't function very well, even though it doesn't even let me see the people I want to see most regularly, I oftentimes have to go look for the people that I want to go see. Yeah. There's some...
Oh, there you
I
go.
don't even know what that was.
Party time. Party boy.
It's big up music time here at River West Film and Video.
Big up.
But I don't know why Facebook has risen in popularity the way it has. And it'll take, I think it'll take something catastrophic. They'll have to have a real privacy intrusion, or they'll have to lose a whole bunch of data to get people to switch over to Google Plus.
Right.
And then what are you doing? You're just jumping in bed with another gigantic corporation and giving them all your data that they just sell to somebody. So
pretty much, yeah. But and I think they do. I do think they catch everything. I'm talking like not just what you say in Facebook, but I think like credit card accounts and all kinds of other stuff.
Right.
I just bought. I bought No Word of a Lie. I've never seen this ad on my Facebook, and I've seen a whole bunch of. I always get martial arts ads because I put martial arts stuff on my Facebook. So whatever, fine. You see that, you put it up, right? I bought a pair of those crazy toe shoes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
The next day, I saw an advertisement for those same toe shoes on my Facebook. Never seen it before.
Wow.
And it sent me, and I was like, dude, no. Why are you sending me these ads? You shouldn't even know about.
Way too coincidental.
You shouldn't even be knowing that I bought those. Get out of my face.
Sure.
I was really mad about that.
Well, it's 7:59 here at riverwestradio.com, and you're listening to Extempo Radio. The radio station can be seen on Ustream. If you go right to riverwestradio.com, you can check that out. If you're hearing us, you're actually already there. So when this becomes a podcast, you can switch around and find it either way. So come on down to River West Film and Video, 824 East Center Street, River West, neighborhood of Milwaukee. Sign up for a radio slot time if you've got something to say. Otherwise, we'll be back with you here in about 5 minutes. Thanks for checking out the show tonight.
Cool. Hey, Phil.
Need to take a little bit of a... Don't know why I am.
Spit break.
Yeah. Yeah. So...
Dude, it's gonna be. I think it'd be really important we get the iTunes thing up though, because it'll be easier for us to just start, like, you know what I mean, putting it in people's laps if we have it. You know, if we get the pre-recorded stuff or the iTunes stuff where people can go and listen to it. Mm-hmm. But right now, we're only gonna get people that know about, you know, the River West Radio A, and within that group, which is a small group already, we only get people that, you know, want to hear us.
Mm-hmm, right.
You know, I mean,
you have to expand it as it makes sense.
Is there even anybody listening right now, or are we just like chatting dead air?
Good question. We have 2 people listening right now.
What up? Sweet. Is it TW? Can you tell who it is?
It doesn't say who it is.
Oh.
But that's funny. That's good. Good for them. Okay, well, we're going to come back here. I'm just going to quick see if anything's popped up. Oh, great. Red Dragon Cultural Center chimed in on my event invite and said, awesome. Going to be a great time. Can't wait to have you here. Oh, yeah. It's going to be fun. Oh, it's fun. Okay, so what else is going on?
Did I talk about why I'm all achy and stuff? I can talk about that again. I didn't get into that.
All right, I got a lead in for that.
Cool.
All right, we'll come back here. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, we're back here on River West Radio. It's 8:02 on Monday, April 9th, the Monday after Easter, and for whatever reason, I feel like my knee has risen from the dead. I had a knee that was dying on me, and was
dying,
just retaining water, just feeling terrible. I twisted it and just wasn't healing. And literally from Saturday to Sunday into today, it's just been on like a 50% per day improvement. And I don't know why, but for 2 weeks it was just like the same dull pain and just not good. And and I just managed it with some Advil for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, but the swelling never went down really during that time. And then all of a sudden, in the last 48 hours, it just relieved. The pain's gone, the swelling's down, and I'm like, I wonder why that hung around for so long. But so I'm on the mend.
That's what she said.
But
oh
boy. So what?
Gotta get one in.
What's on your mending mind? What have you been feeling pain about?
My whole body. My whole body. I got a buddy of mine, Steve Hunter, who I might have mentioned before, but he does a lot of working out, personal training, super awesome. He does like clowning too. He does like miming and clowning and stuff. I saw him do. I thought it was so ridiculous when he was telling me about this, but he has this character called Ono. This is his main only big character. I've never seen him do any other character. It's called Ono the Milltown Clown, and he'll do these shows like birthday parties or special events or charity events or whatever, and dude, he just has a great job. He's hilarious. I'd never thought something like that would be like that funny to adults, but he's a pretty good time. Like he has this really old cheesy briefcase, and he's got a bunch of toys in it, and he'll pop it open and he'll take like those old funky roller massagers, and he'll headlock somebody and he'll massage their head, and then he'll run off and do some other goofy stuff. He's pretty fun. But yeah, he does, like I said, he does the personal training, and he'll often call me because there's a workout that he'll want to do. And as much as I love doing the workouts with Steve, the problem with doing workouts with him is that it doesn't follow the sort of regimen that I want to do, the sort of stuff that I need, the purpose that I'm trying to train for. You know what I mean?
All
so
right.
like it helps. It's great to cross train. But I if I were to just do what he does like over and over again, I would be 100% losing out on the stuff that I need to train for.
Sure.
So I told him, I was like, listen, if we're going to train from now on, no train unless we spar. Okay? Because I got to spar. I'm doing a taekwondo. Actually, there's a tournament on the 22nd. It's a few weeks away. And I want to go to this like small tournament or whatever and see what I can do.
Sure.
But I'm not training for it. That's the problem. So I was like, listen, we're going to work. We're going to spar. That's what we're going to do. So he had me do this insane workout. He has these 2 heavy bags. Those like boxing bags or whatever, like Everlast bags.
Yep.
One of them, apparently, this is how he said how heavy they are. They felt heavier. But the one that he had, and he's a bigger guy, was like 85 pounds. And the one he gave me was 65 pounds. So what we did, first of all, we grabbed these things out of his house. We walked all the way to the park. It was about like 4 or 5 blocks. We walked to the park with these heavy bags on our shoulders, and we'd switch shoulders every so many steps or whatever. And then he took me to a staircase, and we do the staircase work. And actually, it's online. He's been promoting this stuff online. So we took a small video of that workout that we were doing. Right, he gave me his phone, and I videoed him because he could do it right. So we would take this heavy bag, put it on one shoulder, and do like these lunge steps up the stairs. Then we'd still hold it on our shoulders, and then we'd crisscross walk down the stairs, switch shoulders, go up the stairs again, come down the stairs again. The third time, you would hold it. Oh man, you would hold it above your head. Like arms as straight as possible, walk up the stairs, and my arms are giving out. It was really, really hard. And once you get up to the stairs, then you would kind of I don't know what kind of carry. You would cradle it in your arms, but you try to keep your elbows as high as possible. Walk down the stairs again, and then the last one was I think the last one again was like holding above the head, and then on the way down it really sucked because then what he would tell you to do on the very last one is only go down one step at a time, and every single step you go down, you'd pick up the heavy bag and put it on your other shoulders. So you're just switching shoulders all the way down. Your arms are going crazy. And it was a hell of a workout. So after that,
I thought I saw this in Death Workouts for Dummies. I'm pretty sure I read about that.
Death Workouts for Dummies.
That's
this is a real book. Or
no, I'm making that up. I'm making that up. That sounds like a horrible thing to do. That sounds really bad.
These intense workouts. You need stuff like this because when you're putting yourself through so much work, it's especially in the game where you're fighting.
Sure.
You have to put yourself not through the kind of workout where you can run for an hour and coast and you're okay, but you have to put yourself in situations where your body gives out fast. Because what happens is that there's when you're it's one thing when you're just kicking and punching a bag because it's all you, but when you're sparring somebody or fighting somebody, there's a huge dynamic. There's you're thinking a lot. It's hard to control your breath. Your you know, you're throwing punches and kicks and you don't always know if they're going to land or not. And there's a difference. You know, if you throw a kick and it misses, it totally messes with your center of balance. If it hits, you still feel the shock. If you take a hit, if you block a hit, all kinds of stuff happening.
Sure.
And it tires you out extremely fast. So to do certain exercises that make your body out, that make your body give out faster is really important. So we did that. I mean, there's another exercise we used to do. You know that water tower by the lakefront, and they got that kind of squiggly road coming down to the whatever. What's the name of that drive?
I don't know. I take it 3 times a week, and I don't know what the name of it is.
I forgot. But
yeah, it's right at the end of North Avenue.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll remember. But so we go to this workout, or we go there, and what we do is we'd go to the bottom of that hill, and there's a pathway. We'd go around a pathway twice, and that'd just be a really light jog, and that would just warm us up. Once we got back to the bottom of the hill after the 2 laps, there was the hill, and then there's a set of stairs, and we would sprint up the hill, and then we'd go to the set of stairs, and we would crawl, hands first, down the set of stairs. And that type of like workouts like that, like it messes with your core. You're doing different angles. It changes your breathing every time you switch positions, and and it tires you out really, really fast. And I remember the best I ever did was 10 laps. Doing that up the hill and down the stairs things, and I'm like, it got me to the point where I wanted to throw up from working out so hard. But when I finally got together with after doing this workout, I got together with this guy that he was like amateur in like MMA and kickboxing and stuff, and you know, he was young and sprite, and I remember he delivered some hits that jacked me up. We did 3 rounds. And I remember I blocked, and you know, for a boxer or anybody else that knows, when you block really tight and have your elbows together and somebody throws a straight punch, it's hard to get through. It's almost impossible to get through. Well, this jerk jams his fist through my arms and still hits me square in the chin.
Wow.
And it was like, you know, it got me, it was a really hard hit. But that was the worst that I experienced throughout the whole fight. You know, he threw a few more. I got used to what he was doing. And the first round was fine. Second round, he was doing the same thing, a little slower. Third round, it was game over. He was gassed. He was literally bending over for air because he couldn't outlast my stamina in a fight like that.
Crazy.
And as soon as he did that, and he was habitually bending over for air, every time he did that, I would jack him in the face with an uppercut and make him stand back up, and then I would throw some more hits.
Nice.
So I took him out really nasty, and he learned from that one because he's one of those fighters that actually give a crap about being objective and smart about his fighting, as opposed to just being like, well, that jerk, you know, he cheated or whatever. So, you know, I would assume, like, if I were to fight him now, it'd be like another story where he's like, you know, putting one over on me.
He's learned a lot. Sure.
Yeah. And
well, I think that's why they call it schooling him, because you probably schooled him a little bit.
I did.
And if he took the lesson and learned from it, he becomes a better fighter, and that's kind of how all that ends up working out.
Yeah.
But you know, it's definitely a benefit to him to spar or to fight and do a legitimate fight with somebody who's better than him.
Right.
You know, and you learn some things too. You know, how to defend, I'm sure, differently against a guy who comes out real hard and real strong.
Right.
So you learn some things too. But yeah, that's always been it's always a hard decision of. I always like playing in any competitive circumstance. I'd always enjoy a competitor who was higher up than I was, only because I felt like I got more out of it. And hey, you know, if they're looking for just time on the court or whatever, great, cool. You know, I'll give you the time, but you know, I'm going to take something away from this. You know, you're going to beat me, but I'm going to learn more from the circumstance. I'm going to get better out of the circumstance. So that's kind of a cool thing. But yeah, that's it sounds like that's a workout that could beat the crap out of you.
Yeah, but that's the point. But you have to be willing to do that too. You know, like if you're like, well, I'm gonna jog a little bit and then I'll do some light stuff. You're not gonna. You can spar, you can play around and have fun with it, but you're not gonna get in anywhere competitively.
You can't do any competition that way, right?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, unless
you get hurt.
Unless you just want to just get wasted and on the mat. You know, then that's fine if that's what you like, but probably not. So yeah, you got all this stuff. But wouldn't it be the same thing in comedy? Don't you got to put a lot of time into that? You know what I mean? You got to get used to certain things. You got to get used to jerks, like talking crap like in the crowd, or you got to get used to certain pressures that you got to get used to.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Cool with it.
And that's why when I excoriate comics for working for crap money, and drives the value down on what other comics can charge for a show, to me, they're not valuing all the time that they're putting in, all the open mics that they go to and the hours that they write before they go to the open mics and the practice that they do. I think a lot of times the comics that work those shows that don't pay a lot of money, or in my opinion, are, there's this perception of, well, you're paying your dues. Well, when you're doing it for negative money, it I don't know that it makes a lot of sense. There's certainly open mics where you can practice. The stage time should be paid, and the more people that are willing to work for zero money, it prevents people from, meaning bar owners and club owners, from paying real money for shows. The problem is a lot of times people don't put in the preparation work, so they do show up for those shows unprepared, and then they don't put on a professional show, and then that further devalues the idea of paying for stand-up comedy.
Right.
So we've got both sides working against the better outcome. So there's some people who do put in the time. There's some people that do religiously write and work on material. And there's other people who just kind of phone it in or do it as a hobby or whatnot. Yep. And doing it as a hobby can really be a damaging thing to people who are doing it legitimately. Stick to the open mics if you're doing it as a hobby. You shouldn't be out doing, trying to do real shows if you're not taking it seriously. And that's just my humble opinion, people. You can make your own decisions, but I book a lot of shows, and I like to work with comics who take it very seriously and work very diligently towards their goal of moving forward in comedy. I don't like working with people who are kind of half-assing it and just kind of phoning it in. I don't think that provides a good show. I think learning those, just what you were talking about, the idea of crowd control and working with a crowd and how to deal with them and being able to think quick on your feet, and that comes from reps and doing it all the time.
Yep.
Those kind of things will make for a better product and make for better output, and that just means a better show. And if people are paying for it, you've kind of got an obligation to put on a good show.
Yep.
It's kind of the feeling. So it's already 8:15 here in the second hour of the of Extempor Radio here on riverwestradio.com. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Appreciate you giving us a listen. And you can see Sam at samcaban.com or powlove.com. You can find me at Bren Damaged. That's BRENDAMAGED, Bren Damaged, on Twitter, and Bren Damaged on Facebook. And find out where we're going to be talking and performing and doing things, and you can follow us there. Hey,
when are we going to get Evans on here, man?
Jason Evans?
Yeah.
Jason Evans hopefully will do his own show one of these days, but I think I'd like to introduce him to it on ours. That'd be really cool to bring him in.
Well, we got to start doing that because, how many shows are, how would you say how many shows are, I'm sorry, I'm shutting up.
That's okay.
You were going to say, what was I going to say, how many shows do you think are going through this River West Radio thing right now?
There's probably about 20, 30 shows on the roster already.
Okay, how many of those actually talk about other shows on River West Radio?
Not a lot.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
we don't even tie in with each other. I mean, I know it's still new. So maybe. Do
you mean like promote other shows?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what's the
Well, I guess I think shows that want to do that should do that. Certainly grabbing guests from other day parts. I don't want this to be like Mork showing up on Happy Days or
Mork.
But I guess I don't understand necessarily the question.
Well, I guess I figure, if this is purely River West Radio and we are purely connected with each other, there should be some sort of semblance of maybe one person in one show at least talks about what the next show is going to be or whatever, or it has something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they kind of build each other up.
I think as we get, as this thing moves along and gets a little more organized, right now it's really just kind of getting the equipment checked out and building an archive of shows. And the challenge with building an archive of shows and promoting other shows, if you play the archive later. And ultimately, that'll be the goal. There'll be live programming between 3 and 11 p.m.
Okay.
But from 11 p.m. till 3 p.m. the next day, that'll all be pre-recorded archive shows. And so if you say, coming up next is blah, 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 blah may not be coming up next. So what they may do is put those are called rejoiners. They may put those onto kind of an autofill type circumstance where we would end our hour at 7:58, and then they would play stuff for 2 minutes talking about the next hour's shows or tomorrow's shows, time frame, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But that won't wind up on the archive. So your show will be a standalone show in the archive, and then the promotional bits will happen at the end or at different break points during the hour once we get the things a little more sorted out. And ultimately, I think it does work itself out to being a kind of a more professional radio station. One of the other ideas is to have a second booth here running fairly soon, or at least as we get close to being.
So like 2 at a time? 2 shows at a time?
No, it'll be that we've got a show going right now,
right.
and we're at 8:18. The group that's coming in at 9 o'clock would be setting up in that studio.
Oh, great.
So then they get all set up, and then we just simply shut down on this side and switch over and fire up the other side. They can listen in on our show, and we can even have a conversation between the two booths. Everybody will be headphones synced up, and we can just literally say, hey, so you guys what are you guys talking about tonight? We can even do that little few moments of crossover.
That'd be cool.
But you need a second studio to be able to do that. So,
all right, fair enough.
Yeah, this all is still a growing thing. It's literally 3 weeks old or 4 weeks old right now. So to go from something that never existed to this in 4 weeks, we've already seen
awesome.
3 equipment changes in that time. So they are working very hard at making this thing be really super viable, and I just think it's going to be something ultimately pretty cool. Just even things like us shaking out a format. Yeah, I do look forward to having at least once a week having a guest for a good portion of the show, either a half an hour or an hour of the show. I think it would be fun to have a third mic. And I like that to change.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, and the first thing
But
we
I still
started
say
this
TW gets on once a month.
with, we'd happy to bring TW.
Stumper Radio.
TW Hansen on, and TW Hansen has 2 shows. I was on TW's show last night on Sunday night.
He's got 2 shows besides this?
He does a Sunday night radio drama. He was reading ecumenically focused poetry last night. That was pretty exciting, and focusing on the Irish poets.
All right.
That was interesting. And then on Thursday nights, or Thursday or Tuesday, can't remember. Thursday night, TW has another show that is more just what's going on in River West.
Okay.
And so there's he's an excellent guest to have. He's a fun, super interesting dude, and just someone we love. So
That guy just got like a voice for storytelling, and it's cool.
He's that's his that should be his calling. If he's listening, that should be his calling. Hear that, TW Hansen? Make that your calling. We were talking about this last night at Stonefly. Make that your calling. People appreciate your output. We've always said that to you. But the other, you would mention Jason Evans from mkefunny.com. If you are looking for comedy information around southeastern Wisconsin, and now he's actually opened up to a full Wisconsin page, so he's going to be literally covering the comedy that occurs statewide. He is just becoming the repository of just the best, most consistent comedy information and the most up-to-date, hands down, in the entire state. And Jason Evans, just an interesting cat, came to comedy about a year ago and went on and created this website, and just really has been a godsend to comics. It was kind of a funny story. Recently, a comic was looking for the information for a show he was going to do, and the promoters wouldn't send him anything, and he couldn't find the bar name. He actually found the show he was going to do on mkefunny.com.
Whoa.
And that's where he got the information for his own show that he was part of. Because Jason Evans' information is so complete and so up to date that you could even book your own. You can even follow your own schedule and become your own fan by following how well he completely tracks and puts up your information on his webpage. So
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. He's a great guy, and we love Jason Evans and everything he does. I think he and Meg Strobel, photographer Meg Strobel, are working on another Headshots for Comics date. We did one at the Wednesday night open mic at Stage Right last week on the 4th, and there should be another one coming up before the end of the month. So comics that want to get a professional headshot done with full digital retouching, Meg Strobel is an amazing photographer, and she will have that put together for you. She charges a ridiculously low $20. She'll put about 2 to 3 hours minimum into it, and to get a professional photographer's touching and I guess retouching. She's probably not touching, but retouching
Scratch that.
but retouching your photos. She sends them to you digitally, then you can use them in any format that you want. Really worthwhile and really useful. So you combine that with a Tuesday night open mic inside the Miramar, recording of your performance, and you have an almost professional media package, all available to you for under $25. So look into that, people, and put together the stuff you need to do to look and sound more professional and raise the bar and raise the game for everybody. That's a good thing.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka. So, yeah, there's all kinds of good stuff happening comedy-wise. Ryan Holman putting on more shows. He'll be appearing up here at Stonefly Restaurant and Brewery. The Cast of Killers shows are still occurring regularly at Karma Bar and Grill. There's a couple of competitions going on. Currently, there's a battle royale taking place at Carte Blanche and other locations. And there's
like comedian
also
battles.
It's really. I'm not a huge fan of it. I promote them, but I'm not a huge fan of judging comedy.
Well, you have to judge it,
I'm not personally.
or somebody has to judge it.
Yeah. I think it's an art form that I don't think it's so subjective. It's hard to say that. I prefer when comedians judge comics.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of audience judging, because if you sometimes just say fart and other excrement,
toot and everybody's like,
jokes.
oh, that's hilarious, bro.
Right. Yeah. So the fact that Larry the Cable Guy remains the highest paid comedian working inside the United States today is testament to
I love
me
that
too.
guy.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. I do too. I actually love Dan Whitney. I'm not a big fan of the character he's developed called Larry the Cable Guy, but the comedian who developed it.
That's his actual name.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
a really good guy, and I'm not. I have nothing against what he's done and what he's built and created, because that's a character. But when you become the character, that's when it gets a little dicey, and that's probably the biggest thing he suffers from, is that he's Larry the Cable Guy most of the time. And
Yeah,
that would get a little weird,
Oh, I would imagine you go for, I don't know what he was like before, but you go from whatever that was to constantly being in boots, jeans, rip-off sleeve T-shirts, and some American trucker hat or whatever.
Yeah.
Then having to say
that's
certain,
not you,
you have to say certain lines, punchlines, because people want to hear you say it, and
Yeah.
it's weird, man.
It is weird.
That's weird.
That's great. There's a whole TV show by British comedian Ricky Gervais called Extras that deals with that issue specifically, where he's a guy who he was an extra on movies and film sets.
Okay.
And he all the while he's written a script. He's written a sitcom type script, and it gets picked up by BBC. And then they take it over. It's no longer the show that he wanted to do. It's now become a show about catchphrases, wigs, and funny glasses. And
Wow.
And people come up to him in bars and restaurants and say, "Do the catchphrase," and they really get aggravated if he won't say, "You having a laugh? Is he having a laugh?
Yeah.
You having a laugh?" And he becomes that guy that's associated with a catchphrase as opposed to a guy associated with doing quality work.
Yeah.
And so he's become a caricature of himself, and he is that, are you willing to pay that price for fame? And ultimately his character, Andy Millman, decides he's not willing to pay that price for fame, and he leaves it, which is great.
Wow.
Because it sends that message that you can demand to do quality work, and if we all strove for that, we wouldn't have our lowest common denominator comedy that we do. Yeah. It's political season. I'm thinking about Ralph Nader again. There you go. Glad we could bring that all the way back around.
Yeah, beautiful.
So, it's that kind of, I think a lot of people in comedy today strive for that authenticity that makes it something viable and listenable, and there's a lot of comics on the Milwaukee scene right now that bring that. They're not doing kitschy stuff. They're doing legitimate reaction and honest reaction to things. Good. It's a good time. It's a good time to be in comedy in Milwaukee. Milwaukee has a viable, legitimate scene that I think can be put up against a lot of cities' scenes. So there's that. We've made it to approximately 8:30. It's 8:27 here at River West Radio.
Tell me some fart jokes.
I'll tell you if no.
No.
It's just not there.
Does that? Oh, I don't know, man. But you wouldn't even be willing to ride that train for like a year, would you? If that happened, or would
I don't think
you?
I could. I don't think I could.
Really?
Yeah.
Like if you were to do
sustain
one
it.
thing that like just a bunch of people thought was just an absolute riot, and you're like, well, maybe I can write it out for a year and
You mean like
do
a
my own-
character?
yeah, like a character or some.
I don't think I could do a
something dumb.
character because I just can't. I guess I don't want to say that I tried to do a character, but yeah, no, I don't think I could.
Wow.
That's just that kind of a thing. We've got fans walking by the window there.
We love you.
Got a bunch of
hot
young ladies
fans.
walking by the window. Here, we should actually probably get that.
It's too late.
camera. Yeah, we should get our camera.
Too
set up.
late. Too busy looking at me.
Let's just say they were wearing a lot of scarves and good-looking girls. But the
What isn't I should know? That's not Indian? Is it Indian or is that Pakistan? What the?
I think they were probably more Pakistani, Jordanian. I think they were probably Pakistani,
Yeah.
or not Pakistani, Palestinian.
Yeah. Because everybody thinks like I'm somewhere in that because that's what I look like.
Oh, really?
But yeah, people don't think I'm Puerto Rican or don't think I've had some people guess Mexican. Very few people like nail it and they're like, you're Puerto Rican, I know it. Very few. And then the most of them think I'm like Indian or Pakistan. I had Indian people think I'm Indian.
Well, you're certainly brown.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
there is that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people
that
I'm sure
helps.
that just screw that up. That causes a challenge in trying to discern your ethnicity. And that's unfortunate that's really super serious discussion. That's too bad. That's too bad. But back to I don't think I could do a character. But you say that and then you think, well, what if I was just acting in a play?
Yeah.
And certainly you can do that. But there's a huge difference in my mind between that acting in a play where it's clearly they're coming to see the play, words written by somebody else. You're just reading those words. You're being directed by somebody else and told what to do, and you're just not. It's not of your own creation.
Yeah, you're trying to fit yourself into somebody else's
Sure.
creation.
If you go and create something completely on your own, and then you choose to ultimately live that character outside of the performance venue, that's when it starts to get weird. When
Have you seen people do that?
oh yeah,
They just don't stop being that person?
yeah.
That's really weird.
That's kind of odd. And that's adopting a persona, but that's the kind of thing that I think is unsustainable. And I don't see that I could ever do anything like that. And I just want my comedy to be authentic and legitimate to who I am, because
Right.
that's what I'm doing. I always talk about my jokes have at least a grain of truth to them. They're usually something legitimate that's happened. They're usually something that I've personally experienced. And there's very few jokes. There's very few. There's certainly no, hey, this guy did this. I don't ever tell anything third person or anything like that. The closest I come to that is legitimately a friend of mine who is a teacher. And I do tell a joke about that, about
Right.
his experience and him being a teacher and how he can't get a job and things like that. So there is that element.
But for the most part, it comes from you.
It's
I mean,
my
it
own
all
personal
comes from you.
experiences. Yeah, it's all my personal experience. So, and I can't conceive of creating a fake character and a fake universe
Fake universe.
in order to support that character. I just can't conceive of that. That kind of boggles my mind. I can't really get my head around that, how I would sustain that, because I just have too many kind of natural reactions to things. Things just come out of me that are this is the true thing that kind of happened, and what just kind of sorry, this is my take on it. So I try not to get too bogged down in the idea that I could be somebody else or I could be something else.
Right.
And the funny thing is, I guess I do know a bunch of people like that. There's a gal by the name of Janet Williams who's kind of become a friend. She's from Tennessee, and she's a former English professor who took an early retirement package, wasn't ready to retire, and clearly saw that the money they were paying her wasn't going to last, so she needed a new line. So she created this character called the Tennessee Tramp. and she's this very sweet grandmotherly type person in her late 50s, early 60s, who she's got her little dog and they travel together, and they're, she's wonderful to talk to. But when she goes on stage, she becomes this foul-mouthed trailer park trash type woman who just says all the worst things you could possibly imagine in the bluest, most disgusting comedy that is very popular, especially when it's coming out of the mouth of a round little old grandmotherly like lady.
Right.
It's very funny, but she's not that person. When she's not on stage, she's not like that. She's still funny. She's still humorous. She's still engaging, but she's not, calling out everybody. I mean, she will go right after a girl in the audience, and they're looking for that. They're looking to be picked on.
That.
Yeah, it's part of the act, but it's an act. Whereas the comedians I tend to most closely relate with, and certainly the style I embody, is talking legitimately about things that have happened to me, and my natural reactions to them, and humorous views of them. So, and certainly there is some embellishment. Certainly there is some, but I don't even want to. I don't want to destroy the illusion because sometimes one of the cool things is you don't know when it's embellishment, or you don't know when it's truth, or that's the hook or the catch thing. That, I like keeping that little bit of guessing going on, and I'm not certainly here to just reveal everything there is to reveal about me or my act, but I don't know that I necessarily personally want to live out loud that much. So I don't do the Facebook thing like that either. I try not to have that be such a live out loud situation. I'm surprised at some people who just say anything and everything on Facebook. That's certainly not me. Choose not to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. I see that a lot. I don't know why people don't even realize. But you know what though? That probably, when you're on Facebook and you don't really have people to vent to, that becomes their spot to vent, and they'll be like, "Oh, another jerk cut me off again," or I can't believe my mom's saying this. Or they'll say personal stuff, or they'll say stuff that's personal, but they won't throw any names in there so that the person that they're saying it to at least gets it.
Yeah,
really dumb crap. I had somebody do that to me once, where she was mad at me about some. It was actually nothing. This is a roommate of mine, and she was mad that. Apparently I was being inconsiderate or something. She's like, I hate it when people are inconsiderate and leave messes and yeah, when people are inconsiderate. By the way, it was 2 dishes in a sink or something. It was something really dumb and trivial or whatever. And she puts that on Facebook. And I go on my Facebook. It's then nice, go on and goof around or whatever, watch some videos, listen to music, go to bed. And I see this message on Facebook, and I know she's talking about me, because I know she's the type of jackass that will never give you the direct, answer that you're looking for or anything like that. And I went up to her, face to face, and I was like, listen, if you got stuff you need to talk about, why don't you just let me know what's going on? I don't want any bad blood. I don't want anything going on or whatever. Right. And I know this is about me. I'm not an idiot. You know what I mean? Yeah. She was like, no, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. I'll get over it. It's cool. And she
just don't put it on Facebook.
Exactly. And she wouldn't talk. And she wouldn't talk about it. And then she made the situation more awkward, talking to her friends about it. And I could see when, friends that I had met from her before that were cool with me were now uncomfortable around me,
right?
Because she had created the situation. I'm like, dude, you're out of your mind.
And because she's willing to raise it to that level, and talk about it.
Yeah.
In her mind, she's saying, "Oh, really? It's nothing."
Yeah.
They're not seeing it that way. They're not reading it that way because she is continuing the discussion about it online and wherever else in person.
Right.
And it's starting to negatively impact you. That's what I mean about that whole thing. I'll put up if I have a particularly good show, but it usually comes out in the form of thanking all the people, especially the audience involved in the amazing show or whatever. Right. If it's there was one where I was ridiculously effusive not too long ago, back in January. We had a particularly great show in a venue that had been sold to us by the promoter that it wasn't going to be a particularly good show. And then it turned into being an amazing show, and I was quite effusive about the owners, about the venue, about the participants, the audience members, the organizers, everybody involved except the booker, who totally misread the place, who totally gave us bad intel on what we could expect. Now, I didn't call him out and call him a jerk.
Right.
I just simply didn't mention him anywhere in my effusive reportage of how great a time I had.
Right.
And I got comments back from people who are like, what are you trying to be funny? Did it really suck? Because people just can't believe that someone would be that positive and that excited and happy about some event or something they were involved in. It was, and I will say, probably it was a bit out of my idiom. I'm not really known for being bubbly and warm and overjoyed on things. So it was, but it totally caught me off guard, partly because I had been sold this bill of goods that it was going to suck.
Right.
And then it didn't suck. It wasn't average. It wasn't good. It was amazing.
Wow.
So my disparity between expectation and outcome was so huge that I couldn't stop. I will say I also had a bunch to drink that night. But it didn't come out as a drunk rambling. It simply came out as thanks to this person. Wow, you guys were amazing. Thank you so much for coming all the way from Madison to see my show. There were people that traveled 80 miles to come see me specifically, which was unbelievable because you just don't expect that at a certain point. So I thank them particularly, but thank the rest of the audience for coming. I mean, just those kind of things. So really cool when that kind of thing can happen. And that's, to me, is a good format. What I'm kind of shocked by still, I don't know why it shocks me, but it does when I see it. I'll see a young comic and they'll go up and they'll have a bad set or the show won't go well and they'll blame the audience and they'll blame themselves sometimes. And then they put the evidence of it, of them doing very badly. And that just boggles my mind. It's like, I guess I can understand you wanting to show the total picture. But if you really think someone's going to sit there and go through all of the clips that you've put up online and hopefully, but the weird thing is they kind of even go out of order, or they're in order, but there isn't like this general crescendo of improvement.
Okay.
There's this kind of choppy
Zigzaggy.
up and down thing and it's like, wow, is that really the message you want to put out? I guess that's full disclosure, but stuff that I did 6 years ago, I hope it never sees the light of day. I particularly didn't record a lot of stuff back then because I knew it was crap. So if I'm not happy with it or proud of it or want it out there to represent me, and if it certainly doesn't represent what I'm doing now, and anything that gets on the internet is relatively permanent, that's the kind of thing in terms of controlling your message in how you market yourself that I just don't quite understand about Facebook is this live out loud. Any foible. I've had people who misunderstood a circumstance and they put it out there before all the facts are in.
Right.
And then they don't correct it or they backpedal from it and it kind of is weird and it's not complete. Those are the things I just don't understand about the
emotional control.
Yep, exactly.
You like somebody sees something and they're pre-programmed in their head to react a certain way to certain things, and they just do it. They just do it because that's just the way they think it's supposed to be done. They just do it, with gusto. It's like they want to, if they want to freak out, they're gonna make sure they freak out. You ever talk to somebody who who's mad about something? Or actually, probably going back to the people that are like finger pointing about how bad their shows went or whatever. That's like somebody that's like used to doing that.
Sure.
Somebody that's used to playing that game. Like, oh, they screwed up. Oh, well, it's because of this, and this, or whatever. The group I'm training with right now for Taekwondo is a group called the ATA, it's American Taekwondo Association. Okay. And the game that they play is very, it's not all out. That's for sure. You can't, there are fights where like you'll get called for excessive contact, and it's because the ATA is a family business. You know what I mean? So they're really trying to keep it safe and fun, although you do learn a lot of great like principles and life principles, and you get a good workout and all that stuff. Okay. But it's not a real fight.
It's not a competition. It's not a competitive environment.
It's competitive. It's just safe, right? Family. It really is, and I have really no qualms with it. I remember looking at it before and getting mad about it because that's not what I saw as a good competition. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, if I wanted to go out and get a fight like that I was looking for, I could go get that, and it doesn't have to be the ATA and stuff like that, and I can take them for what it is, and I don't have to, don't have to get, what I mean? I don't have to get upset about it and point fingers and. And I could have done that. I could continue to do that. Because I remember getting a little upset before, going like, I don't understand why, you know, this isn't, and that's like, right. And I would say I don't understand why the sparring or the fighting is like this. But what I was really saying is like, I don't understand why it's not the perfect package for the world that's inside of my head that it should exactly match up to.
Right.
Which is crap. That doesn't work out that way. There's
Right.
there's never something. That's why a lot of relationships get screwed up too. Because
right.
you'll date, if you're the type of person that goes out, dates a bunch of people, and you are really good at trying to find the things you don't like. It's fine if something does come up that you genuinely disagree with or whatever, but if you're looking for crap, well, that's all you're going to get.
You're going to find crap.
You're going to find crap. Congratulations. You know what I mean? And it goes the same thing in the ATA, same thing in anything that you do, comedy. Well, I don't care. If you want to get upset, you get really good at getting upset. You're not going to get anything you want. And then once again, it gets really hard to get good things out of the stuff that's around you. It's like, it's a difficult, I'm telling
It's crazy. You just described me, actually.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm probably best at inside of a corporate environment is I predict the pitfalls. And it's really kind of funny because in early meetings, if I'm in like a conference setting or a new committee or something like that, I'll find all the areas that could potentially be problems for the project or whatever.
Right.
And I see them very clearly, very early on. And I often get tagged with, "Oh, you're so negative," and "Oh, you're not. Oh, way to think positively," and "Oh, are you trying to kill this before it starts?" And that's not it at all.
No.
The hilarious thing is when a challenge does occur later that was identified and we've already brainstormed it a little bit. It's like, so it comes up, but it becomes so minimal so quickly because it was like, hey, you remember that meeting we had 3 weeks ago? And suddenly there's an acceptance of the value that brings.
Right.
But I try to do it in a very positive way, and I generally preface it with a discussion like this, like, hey, look, I know this is going to come off sounding super negative, but it's not. It's just how I see things. I tend to see the way things could go wrong as much or more than seeing how they could go right. So I am pretty good at identifying things I don't like. But I also have to temper that and work very hard to say, okay, what level am I going to let that rise to? You know, is that thing that she does annoying, or is it painful, or is it aggravating, or can I not stand it? What level does it rise to?
Right.
And just being aware of that and going, I'm not going to worry about that. You know, and I have to be good at that, because otherwise all that stuff would just rise to a high level, and I could easily, you know, pretty much cancel any relationship ever over just crap like that.
See, no, you're right. That stuff is not negative. There's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference between looking at something and saying, okay, this might happen, this might happen. If this does happen, this is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how we can sidestep it or whatever. That's fine. You know, and then you get other people that this guy, he would yell at me all the time if I got geeked out or kind of afraid of stuff. And he's like, well, why don't we all just live in the woods with the what ifs? And like, you know what I mean? Like people like that, they're like, well, what about this? What about that? And they freak out and they get themselves wrapped up. That's different. That's when you're involving the emotions as opposed to looking at like a task.
Yeah, trying to do it as an objective thing. I always thought it was like Boy Scout training. It's from being in the Scouts, like being prepared.
You're in Scouts?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's not clear.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I you know what? I just kind of I'm in awe of that because I never did. You know, that's one thing that if I could go back and be a kid, I would go like be a scout. Look at you, little.
Still carry a knife everywhere. Can't go anywhere without a knife. This knife has been shipped back to me 4 times because I forget to take it off. Take it out of my pants before I go to an airplane, and I have to go into the airport and go to some place that has a little mailing envelope and send it to myself. So it's sitting in my mailbox when I get home. So don't check my mailbox for my knife if you find out that I'm heading out of town.
Nice.
But that's where that goes, is that you have to, you always got to have a knife with you. You just never know. And I grew up in an era where guys just had knives with them all the time.
Yeah, it wasn't never even like a weapon thing or whatever.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
It's just a tool. And today we
people
treat
get
it.
paranoid though.
What's that?
Nowadays, people just get paranoid.
Oh, absolutely. You can't go into a courthouse with it. You can't. I got to remember to take it out tomorrow before I go talk to the parking meter commission. I can't walk in with my 1 3/4 inch long jackknife. It's an under 2 inch long blade, and it's gonna get me in trouble if I forget to. I'll fail a metal detector.
So you end up getting your money back in time alone, hey? Just
well,
for making them.
I'm gonna, if they, whatever they decide, if I end up having to pay, I will get more than my money's worth out of them. I will tie up so many city officials in the process that they will not make a dime on me. It'll cost them hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars to adjudicate this. that's what I mean. If right now the only reason the parking meter thing works is because they're making money on it. If you made it so they didn't make money on it and tied up the court system so much, they would just have to say, they'd have to do the first thing they would say is, you can't fight parking tickets anymore. Oh, really? So you can force me. Now it becomes taxation without representation. Now you can go after it as a state constitutional issue and say,
Right.
then you got to get rid of it because you guys are being unconstitutional. I've got to be able to have my day in court. If that guy can sue me because he doesn't like the lawnmower blade I use, then I get to sue you for parking meter stuff. If you don't say that's not okay, then I get to say this isn't okay.
Man.
So there's all kinds of
The spiral.
the downward spiral of bureaucratic life. So
Man. Whatever.
There you go. So, yeah, it's we're getting into the last 10 minutes of the show here. It's 8:48 at River West Radio on riverwestradio.com. This is the Extemper Radio Show with Sam Caban and Brendan O'Day. There's still slots available on riverwestradio.com if you have a message you want to get out in River West about Milwaukee, about Wisconsin, about the nation, about the world. If you believe Scott Walker is the devil, here's your place. If you believe Scott Walker is an angel, here's your place. This is the place you come to get your ideas and dispositions put out to the larger world of the internet and to the local community here, and they'll entertain your disposition here on River West Radio at River West Film and Video, 824 East Center Street in Milwaukee's River West neighborhood. That's a long plug right there.
That was beautiful.
Almost 60 seconds straight. I realized I hadn't breathed in quite some time there, so my head was getting a little light. So we've really beat to death the idea of expensive parking in Milwaukee.
Yep.
Tonight we've covered some interesting issues, and we did it all without a guest tonight. We'll have guests next week. Got a couple of ideas for guests. Just some of the interesting things you see here sitting in front of River West Film and Video. We've seen Milwaukee director Frankie Latina come in and out a couple of times tonight. And so just even interesting people like that just kind of flow through the store here, River West Film and Video. There's always interesting people around that we're going to have drop in on the show and say hi to you folks. And but coming up next week, I think we're going to have a gentleman from the music group, the November Criminals. Spade One is his MC name, and we'll see if we can't get Spade One on the show next week and talk to him for a portion of the show. Coming up on the 12th this week at Polish Falcons in River West. I believe it's on Clark Street in River West. The Small Press Fest is having a fundraiser on April 12th featuring James Murphy as one of the musical performers. There'll be 4 bands playing, including the November Criminals. Come check them out at 9 o'clock. I believe it is $5 big to see 4 amazing bands. And if you've never seen James Murphy or heard James Murphy play, you are absolutely missing a treat, and you're missing your opportunity to see a guy where the next time you see him, you might be paying real money and having to catch him when he comes back here on tour, because James Murphy is going to blow up. He's a prolific performer and has significant output and is just a heck of a guy all the way around. So a good friend of mine, James Murphy, you can check him out at Polish Falcons on April 12th, along with the November Criminals and the UWM Jazz Trio. So Masters Jazz Trio will be performing there as well. So that's coming up on April 12th. What else is going down? What's that? What's April 12th? Today's the 9th. Is that Friday this week? I don't even know. 10th, 11th, 12th, Thursday?
Yep.
That's Thursday. So check that out at Polish Falcons at 9 o'clock. Clark Street in River West. It's like Clark and Pierce or something like that. It's not too far from River West Film and Video. So cool things going on around here.
So cheap too.
I know. Really great entertainment for $5.
Do you know any other? I mean, I don't know, because I don't really go out, and like if I go out, like I'm spending a bunch of money, but I don't know any other like communities, other cities that are like really good about, you know, putting on a good show, or where you can like go almost any day of the week and find a show or find something cool for like dirt cheap. You're
free or $3 or $5. It's really quite ridiculous. Yeah, that's a little. I'm not going to say it's only a Milwaukee thing. Certainly, cities like Austin and San Francisco have a similar kind of arts-focused, arts-driven scene. Unfortunately, that means there's a lot of poor artists in those towns that don't get any compensation for all the hard work that they do. Sometimes it becomes almost too competitive, where there's so many to try and get anybody to pay for anything is a difficult thing, just because
They know they can get like free acts.
there's always some place to go for free. So,
Wow.
so it's really kind of a cool thing that Milwaukee does have that available to you. But yeah, this is one of those areas and one of those parts of town where there's always something great going on for little or no money. And so you should support the arts as best you can when it's hardly costing you anything to do so. It's really a nice thing. So, well, we're wrapping things down here tonight. Any other plugs? Again, check out powlove.com and samcaban.com to check out the blog and really amazing videos. One of the things I think I like best on Powlove are the Bad Dates videos. Check those out. And a little plug I've been doing lately, please check out yachtrock.com. That's YACHT rock, and then just put in one and then the letters HD. So yacht space, rock space, one space HD. And just do that search on YouTube. You will have some of the best written, best performed comedic performances in a sketch format that I've seen in a long time.
That sounds really familiar.
It's I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's a thing where this guy it's basically like a little music history show, but it's a spoof.
But it's on like really smooth like music. Like,
it's based on
like
all the movie The Doobie Brothers
or something like that. I don't know.
There's one brief reference to Chicago in it. The comedian Doug Benson plays Peter Cetera in one episode in episode 2 of the show. But it's based around the works of Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins, the Doobie Brothers, Steely Dan, and this whole era in the late 70s, early 80s of smooth yacht rock that's so smooth, music that's so smooth that it's like sailing. And
they have an episode where they actually, what was that track from? It was called Regulators.
Oh, it's Nate Dogg and Warren.
That is what I'm saying.
Yeah. They actually sample a Michael McDonald tune. The episode revolves around a new song that Michael McDonald has put out in 1983. And he sees Kenny Loggins running down a beach, and he gives him the headphones, and he goes, "Hey, listen to my new song." And Loggins just goes, "Yuck." And he goes, "That's going to go to number 2." And usual bet, and they spit bet on it and shake on it that they're going to bet $1 of how high the song is going to go on the charts, and it only gets to number 4. So Michael McDonald hands over the $1 to Kenny Loggins, and he says, "Don't spend that $1. You're going to give it back to me someday." You jump ahead 10 years later, and there's cuts of Compton, and so there's what's his name, Dr. Dre. So Warren G is Dr. Dre's younger brother, and he comes in and I'm hard, I'm gangster. It turns out he's not. He's really smooth. And he tries to tell him that you don't need to be gangster to get over and rap. Rap will accommodate every style. So as he's trying to go out and prove how he's hard, they run over Michael McDonald. They hit him with their car, and so Warren is trying to prove to Dr. Dre how hard he is. He goes, "I hit him on accident, but I kidnapped him on purpose." That hard enough for you? And so they got Michael McDonald laying unconscious on a bed as they're trying to promote this idea that they can be hard gangster rappers. And Michael McDonald comes to. They get him to remember who he is, and then he plays this song from 1983 for Warren, and then Warren raps over this Michael McDonald song, samples the Michael McDonald song, and it goes to number 2.
Nice.
So now it's 10 years later. Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald are running down the same beach, and they run into each other again. And he goes, "Some rapper turned my song into a rap song, and it made it to number 2. So pay up." He goes, "You here to regulate?" And so he hands over the $1, and that's the resolution to the episode. But
nice.
But yeah, and it's really amazing that this group of writers and comedians and comedic performers put together this thing using the lyrics of these songs in such an effective way to just make this show be so perfectly entertaining. I mean, they literally take just snippets of lyrics and they turn them from things that they say to each other into, oh, that's the idea for the song that I was trying to come up with, and just really, really well done. And a lot of thought went into it. And guys that have come out of that show are Steve Agee, who was a regular performer on the Sarah Silverman program, was one of the regular characters on Sarah Silverman program.
Character?
He was one of the two gay guys with Brian Posehn.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
Steve Agee was Brian Posehn's boyfriend in the Sarah Silverman program. The other guy that's really kind of huge from the show was a guy by the name of Dan Harmon. Dan Harmon is actually from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He was part of a group called the Dead Alewives, a sketch comedy group here in Milwaukee.
Wow.
And today he runs a little show on NBC called Community. He's the executive producer, head writer, and director of Community. So... and that all came out of his work on Channel 101, which was where all these shows...
That's where I found it.
Started out initially, yeah. So he's done a lot of the shows. But the guy behind it is this guy by the name of Reisner, J.D. Reisner. And J.D. Reisner is this guy who just... His brain... from a comedic standpoint, works on such a different level, and his execution is just so consistently great. It's just amazing. And for him to have the stick-to-itiveness to come up with this concept, and they did this over like a 4-year period of time from 2006 to 2010. So it's not even like they just cranked out 12 episodes. And to keep the people together that made this thing, clearly they kept coming back just because of the high quality of the output and the concept that was
Nice.
going on. But this guy only bills himself as a Hollywood personality. He doesn't consider himself a comedian. He certainly doesn't consider himself a writer, director. And these are the only things he does. He just does internet-based stuff, and he's
Wow.
able to get that kind of output. So check out Yacht Rock at Yacht Rock on YouTube at Yacht Rock episode or Yacht Rock 1 HD, and break that up into separate words, and you'll find the high definition stream of that. It's really kind of cool. So
Boom.
anyway, thanks for checking us out tonight and for tuning in. Coming up straight up on 9 o'clock right now, and we thank you guys for listening and for checking us out on the archive. If you see this at a later date, it's April 9th, and we've been big for you. There's some love from Sam Caban.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. Have a great night, everybody.